Well, good afternoon. I'm going to talk about basic training. Basic training is an experience I had that took place in January of 1966. January 18th, I think it was, 1966, I took the oath to join the military, United States Air Force specifically, and I got my basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. Now, the reason I'm telling you about it is that this is a normal thing that young men went through at that time. A lot of young men did. Some didn't, some avoided it. Some took another way out, but I decided that I would do my tour of duty in one of the branches of the service and take advantage of whatever came of that. In my case, I decided on the Air Force. Now, basic training is a very interesting concept. It's not only learning the basic rules, regulations, and how to salute and how to march in cadence, how to march in formation, to the left march, to the right march. I forget what they all are now. I mean, I've been totally deprogrammed from it, so I don't even know it anymore. But at that time, you learned all that stuff, and you marched in the dark, you marched in the light, you marched in the afternoon, in the morning, in the mid-afternoon, you marched all the time, you attended classes dealing with basically know your enemy, so to speak, whoever that enemy was. I'm not even sure who the enemy was. In fact, we were in an undeclared war in Southeast Asia at that time. They called it the Vietnam War. A lot of people don't realize that technically this country was never at war from the time World War II ended, because we had never declared war on anybody. So it was kind of an interesting, weird, screwed up mindset to be in. But in basic training, you are taught through pressure, through yelling and screaming, through marching and cadence and various other things, to think in a uniform group think type of situation. This is what you're doing. You are subordinating your individual free will to the will of the group. And this is a frightening thing for young people. I don't care what you say. I don't care how brave you are, or how physically fit you are, or how accomplished you have been before that. When you get to basic training, all of that is challenged. And you will either pass it or fail it. Very simple. Now, you might get recycled a couple of times, but eventually, if you can't make it through basic training, you're not going to enter the military service. You're going to be kicked out at that point. And you're going to have to go home and face your friends and neighbors and figure out how you're going to tell them why you couldn't make it through basic training. Well, just to give you an example of how this affects some people, we were in a group. It's dark 30 in the morning, pitch black. We're being assigned to barracks to drill instructors who we did not meet until later on that morning. And we're just scared to death. We have no idea what's going to happen. So far, we have been yelled at a lot, called every conceivable name. Young airmen who were more experienced, because they were probably two-thirds of the way through basic training, were walking by, looking at us up and down like we were pieces of dirt. And I have to tell you, at that point, I thought to myself, what in God's name did I get myself into? I'm hungry. I haven't had any sleep in 24 hours. It's dark. It's cold. And I think I'm going to get out of this as soon as I can. Well, there was a young man standing amongst us who gave us some encouragement. He was sort of like our psychological bugler, so to speak. He told us that, there's nothing to worry about. It's all psychological. The idea is to create pressure so that you will subordinate yourself to their rules and regulations, and teach you how to follow orders, what the difference between an unlawful order and a lawful order is, and that kind of thing. The proper care and maintenance of your uniform, simple basic hygiene, and all that sort of stuff. So once he got done explaining that and telling us about his own experience and how he had these various military courses in college, and how he was an Eagle Scout and he had won these various awards and on and on. I don't even know what they are. I've never been in the Boy Scouts, so I wouldn't know. But after giving us all of this, we felt encouraged. We felt better then. Okay, okay, I feel better now. Somehow I felt better. I don't know why I did, but I felt better listening to him. So we go into the barracks. We are assigned to rooms, 4 to a room, if I recall right. 4 or 6 to a room. Might have been 6 to a room, and it's like bunk beds and so forth. And then we're told to go to sleep. Well, there's a big shrieking commotion down the hallway. Of course, a number of us jump out of bed, including myself. We run down the hallway, half dressed, and we come into this open room called a day room. It's a room in which you get together with your buddies, during free time, leisure time. You play cards, board games, and watch TV, read, whatever it is that you want to do. And on the floor was this guy that had encouraged us earlier and made us feel better. What he had done, apparently, from what we could see, he had thrown a chair through this plate glass window. Now, the chair had gone straight through, bounced off the roof below, and then onto the sidewalk. There's shattered glass all over the place. You look outside, there's people looking up, wondering, what's going on? And he's on the floor, crying like an insane newborn baby. He had not only shattered the plate glass window, knocked a hole in it, rather, but he had also taken his arm and stabbed it down onto a sharp piece of glass in the opening that he had broken. And he was just bleeding all over the place. And, well, now he was bleeding out, and he was scared now. Of course, people were trying to help him at this point, and, ambulance was called, and the squadron commander came running upstairs, yelling and screaming, what the hell is going on? And so that's the last we saw of that guy. He went to the hospital after that, and apparently he got discharged out of the Air Force. So this little worm called fear had gotten into his brain somehow and had eaten him in from the inside out. And that's how he was defeated. This very strong, well-spoken, psychologically well-put-together young man had been defeated by fear. And, that's how it goes. I mean, you have to look at it that way. I mean, it's all about fear. And, well, we got through basic training. Most of us got through. There were some that didn't. Some you tend to look down on people like that at that time. You'd say, well, what's the matter with those guys? Are they inferior? That's probably it. They're probably weird, and they probably got some psychological problem, like maybe they're homosexuals. That's probably what the problem is. You come up with all these theories, and very narrow-minded and stupid, because the whole thing about basic training is institutionalized stupidity on a level that you can't imagine sometimes. And so you subordinate yourself to the group think and the group way of doing things, and the Air Force way, so to speak, or the Navy way, or the Marine way, or the Army way, whatever you're into. And you get through this, and then you pass over a threshold into the open sunlight called the real Air Force. And then you are accepted then. You're a human being now. See, then you get to call your drill instructor by his first name, and then from there you're assigned to tech schools and further training. So I had made it through basic training. I did not have to bring shame on my parents by getting kicked out of the Air Force and have to figure out some kind of an explanation on what had happened because I didn't make it through. And I had made it back to the real world by coming out the other end with my certificate, with my tests successful, and all that kind of nonsense. So, well, that's how it is. That's how it was at that time. Ordinary people went through this experience and survived.